Hey folks, on at Freedom Fighter Tactical. Today we're going to talk about the differences between the A&S trigger housing for the BENELLI M4 shotgun against the BENELLI OEM aluminum trigger housing for the BENELLI M4. Let's get started right now. Hey folks, a lot of the times people ask me what's the difference between the A&S and the BENELLI OEM trigger housing. And of course, people like to change their trigger housings because of a couple reasons. One, the BENELLI M4s that were made over the last few years and continue to be made are done with a polymer housing, and a lot of the BENELLI enthusiasts do not like the polymer housing whatsoever. So they consider that an immediate, necessary first upgrade on this gun is to get rid of that polymer housing and put in there a good aluminum trigger housing. Another reason why people do it is they need another 922R part, and the A&S trigger housing is indeed one of the 922R parts that you can choose for your build in order to go along with 922R. The BENELLI OEM does not help you in 922R. It doesn't hurt you either. It doesn't, if you're switching out your polymer to a BENELLI aluminum housing, you're still switching out one foreign part for one foreign part. So it doesn't help you, doesn't hurt you. But if you're going to go through the trouble of switching out the polymer housing, a lot of people choose the A&S because it's a 922R part and because it is designed to be superior to the BENELLI original trigger housing. Now, starting off with the BENELLI original trigger, and in fact, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below, hit the bell so you're notified of future videos. Follow on Instagram and join the email list over at freedomfightertactical.com. If a pop-up shows up, it means you haven't been there yet. Go ahead and sign up there, or you can scroll to the bottom of any page and sign right up for the email list. And we do not spam, sell, share. We only notify you of things going on at Freedom Fighter Tactical, maybe one or two, maybe three emails tops every week. Nothing crazy. So anyway, getting back to the BENELLI original trigger housing. Look, it's a fantastic trigger housing. Nothing wrong with it. They've been using it for years and years and years. They went to polymer probably to save money, to increase production, or to decrease production time. To decrease the costs, all that. But a lot of people don't like polymer for a trigger housing. Polymers are very tricky and hard to work with. They're very difficult to control when they cool. They want to warp. All plastics do this. All plastics, when they come out of the process and they're warm or they're hot, they want to warp. They want to flex. And it's a science trying to control that. And all plastic is going to deform in some fashion or another as it cools. It's impossible to keep it from happening at all. And because of that, all plastics are going to have some sort of deformity, some sort of, I guess a perfectionist would call it a problem. It's not necessarily a problem, but it's not ideal as well. It's just, plastics are just tough, right? So, like I said, the BENELLI enthusiasts want to get rid of the polymer housing and they want to go with the aluminum housing. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of the going with the original housing? Anytime you stick with BENELLI original, that's kind of ideal. But on the other hand, it's kind of short-sighted to think that other companies can't improve upon what BENELLI did. BENELLI does production runs of these things, so they might do, 10,000 pieces at a time. The process is designed to go quickly, so sometimes that might compromise certain features. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing, too, is the price and the availability of the BENELLI OEM. Oftentimes it's not available. Here at Freedom Fighter Tactical, we get them in, but we don't get them in often, and we put in orders for large quantities of them and get small batches at a time, and we are often sold out of it. And of course the cost, it's higher cost, and it's not a 922R part. But the A&S trigger housings are a 922R part. I think they cost about $100 less right now than the OEM, maybe $90 or maybe even $80. I can't remember. I think there was a price increase sometime recently here in 2022. But it's still less expensive, and they're absolutely beautiful. The A&S guys do a beautiful job on these things. They are manufactured out of solid aluminum billet. The loading shell, let's see, what is it? I can't even read my own writing. The loading shell is easier with an enlarged feeding ramp. I'm taking this off their website, of course. They're hard anodized for resisting corrosion and wear, and you can build basically a superior trigger job, especially when you're outfitting it with a Freedom Fighter Tactical trigger kit. But you can build a superior trigger group using their product. Now, I've got a couple housings here in front of me. There's not a lot to really see. This is the BENELLI OEM housing. It's of course it's aluminum, and there's not a lot to see. Is that a BENELLI? Yeah, it is a BENELLI. But I've also got an NP3. I've got an A&S trigger housing. And really the biggest difference that I can see looking at the two, and there's a few differences if you look at it with a close eye, but in the video it's kind of hard to outline. But if you see right there, there's a big difference. You've got this big, this right here is eliminated, and that's where the feeding ramp is. It's kind of built into the side of the trigger housing. So that's really the biggest difference that I can tell. I don't know that I can really tell that there's much more of a difference and show it to you in the video. But this, of course, this is the NP3. We get ours, A&S does it in a few configurations. They do one with their logo on it, and then they do one without their logo. I can't remember where they put the logo. We get the version without the logo at Freedom Fighter Tactical because people prefer just solid black. Nothing wrong with the logo that A&S does. It's just that most people, I think, prefer. I even have people email me and say, hey, are you selling the ones with or without the logo? Oftentimes A&S is back ordered. I think as I make this video, they're back ordered for about a month, maybe half a month. I think they have well, it's probably 2 to 3 weeks. So I probably should get another order in these because I sell them. They're like hotcakes. They go out the door to the consumer. They never come back my way. But the A&S is absolutely fantastic. We try to keep a plentiful supply here at Freedom Fighter Tactical of both the A&S and the original housing. A lot of people out there try to keep everything as original as possible. I get that. So we like to have the BENELLI OEM in stock at all times. That's oftentimes hard to do, as I've said. And then the A&S trigger housing. I'm sorry I don't have a black one to show you. I didn't have a black one when here at the house where I have my video studio. So the NP3 is, and actually I think you can see the features with the NP3 better than with the black. But this thing is absolutely gorgeous, and it saves you money, and it's a 922R compliant part. So that's really kind of my conversation on this, folks. They sell like hotcakes. People love them. They just make your gun better at the end of the day, and they count as a 922R part. I mean, it's a win across the board. You combine this with a Freedom Fighter Tactical trigger kit, and you take it into the gunsmith or you do it yourself, and all the work, I mean, you pull your OEM out there, and it's all your work is contained in this one part, and you get 4 922R compliance parts out of it. You get the housing, the hammer, the trigger, and the disconnector. 4 parts in one little job. Not necessarily the easiest job, but it's also not terribly hard either. Your gunsmith can handle it, and if you can't, and if you have some decent skills, you build ARs, you take apart 1911s like Kimbers that are always a royal pain in the ass to take apart. You take those apart, you can take this apart and put it back together. So, folks, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the bell so you're notified of future videos. Subscribe on the website, and I will talk to you in the next video.